Rock when you're back with another video. And so today I wanted to talk about a few different things that I've noticed uh, happen within the music space and within the general sort of pop culture space that I wanted to talk about a little bit in the form of a video essay. Now, bear with me, this is my first time ever doing something like this, but it's a topic that I feel really passionate about, and most of the time I make videos because I'm disappointed in the general public reaction, or I see a lot of people confused one way or the other, and so I feel sometimes inspired or pushed by cultural reactions to make certain pieces. And this will be my first one as a response to the recent Lizzo controversy that happened a little while ago, as well as just other forms of people getting canceled that I wanted to talk about. I think there's a lot of a misunderstanding about how people get backlash and why people get backlash that I think really needs to be cleared up, because a lot of people, when entering into the pop culture space or trying to understand or reason with what goes on in the world, can't always make sense of everything, because there's certain unwritten or unspoken rules about this sort of thing that no one really talks about. And so yeah, bear with me. Like I said, this is my first video essay, and also my apologies for the writing. Literally right before, for the lighting, right before this video started, my ring light broke, so I'm gonna have to order a new one pretty soon. But we can just go and get that pretty soon. So yeah, with that being said, let's get into it. Editor's note here. One thing that I realized that I failed to do actually is really define what I mean. I'm going to be referring to a lot of different kinds of celebrity backlash, and I realized that at no point do I really describe what those different things are and what do I mean by those different sort of verbiages that I use. So to be clear, because a lot of people will sort of fight back against the mere existence of cancel culture in its entirety. When I say canceled, the only thing I'm referring to is when you have decreased visibility and when people have lost respect for you as an entertainer. Okay, that is the only thing I'm referring to. I'm not saying that you fall off the face of the earth or you stop making money or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, none of us are pocket watchers. We don't know what money these people have, but we can see the general public perception and the respect that they perceive, as well as the general visibility that they have. The reason I would call somebody like DaBaby canceled is because the respect and visibility for DaBaby has decreased since Blame It On Baby and since those awful comments he made at Rolling Loud. I also mentioned something called controversy. Kendrick Lamar is someone who I would say made a statement that was controversial, as you'll see later in the video. Controversy is a moment and doesn't have any significant long-lasting consequences, but can feel very real at the time and can potentially lead to more long-standing consequences if that subject is brought up again. For example, the controversy that Kendrick Lamar had to deal with the whole F-word thing or F-bomb thing isn't affecting him at the moment, and it was a wave that came and went. But the next time that Kendrick Lamar decides to speak on LGBT issues, this thing that I call controversy might crop up. So that's controversy versus cancel culture. With the recent cancellation of Lizzo caused by accusations of sexual abuse and fat shaming behind the scenes, I've seen a ton of conversations crop up. You have people salivating to dunk on Lizzo, as they have been annoyed by her persona prior to being canceled as a plus-size activist. People defending her by questioning the nature of power dynamics, when it comes to celebrities and background dancers and things of that nature.
But Charlamagne, you said the word force. These are grown women.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They made a choice.
But when it's a power dynamic,
power
what he
dynamic
said.
though. Boss
But it's still
employee.
not force. She still has a mind of her own as a grown woman.
And no is a complete statement. No, girl,
And
no.
who eat bananas?
And you have the reaction of fans who stand with victims but are disappointed in someone who they saw as a revolutionary and musically gifted individual. But one commonality amongst everyone is that we really, really care. Today I want to examine why is that, and also why this situation, along with many others, proves that cancel culture is not based in politics or morals for that matter. First off, why am I even talking about this? Well, there are two common talking points that come up to try to gaslight people who are disappointed in a certain celebrity that, while understandable, don't hold much water. One, cancel culture is an agenda by left-leaning media to push out certain figures with radical views. The rationale is that the things we see people get canceled for most often are LGBT slander and sexism, which are issues that the left has made a point of rallying against. Therefore, cancel culture is a force of the left. This is an example of correlation does not equal causation, because a massive lurking variable ignored. That variable being environment. If you look at the majority of these cases, there are mostly environments where queer individuals are present. Take Kendrick Lamar versus NBA Youngboy, for example. Both have said the F slur that stands for gay people in their albums, but the reaction to Kendrick was way worse. This is because Kendrick's music attracts a more thoughtful audience who listens to him for thoughtful commentary. Also, he never shies away from being political in his music, and his politics almost always lean left. As a result, he will attract a fan base that A, pays more attention to the messaging, and B, takes a lot more issue with LGBT slander as they are outwardly left. On the other hand, NBA Youngboy's music is far less political and geared toward a younger audience to whom which the social dynamics of the world matter a lot less to. When Youngboy says the word, the people who did hear didn't care, and the people who would have cared didn't hear it. If that's not enough proof for you, here are examples of two entities that literally got canceled and alienated from their core audience for having left-leaning takes. Arnold Schwarzenegger was alienated from the bodybuilding community for having a pro-vax take. Yes, pro-vax. Because he tried to divert the conversation away from freedom and towards safety.
Guys, as many of you know, I am a proud American. I train with an American flag on the wall of my gym, and I'm also a big believer in freedom. Now, there are a lot of people in our country right now that have forgotten that freedom is very important. Also, I have trained with a poster of Arnold Schwarzenegger on the wall of my gym basically since I started training, because Arnold was a huge influence on me. Now, Arnold has made some comments recently, and he is free to say whatever he wants to say, but when you say something like screw your freedom, it doesn't sit well with me, and I know it doesn't sit well with a lot of other Americans out there, and therefore, I will no longer be training with a poster of Arnold on the wall of my gym. It's time for it to come down.
Bud Light lost millions of dollars for putting a transgender ambassador in their company. The important thing to remember here is that unlike more left-leaning environments such as conscious hip-hop, bodybuilding and Bud Light communities are very conservative with redneck bases. The other main criticism of the outrage culture is other people can rap about killing. Why don't they get hate? Or we don't really know anything about these celebs behind the scenes. Dismantling this point, I'm gonna elect to tread a bit lighter. To be clear, everyone is free to live with whatever non-threatening values they want. And just because some people are not willing to listen to music of an artist doesn't mean it's bad if you decide to continue listening to it. With that being said, celebrities generally have a certain message and values that they display throughout their career. Their appeal often comes from people who either identify with the messaging or find the way that the messaging is conveyed to be entertaining. Regardless, there is a level of buy-in that most fans have for celebrities. Even if objectively we know that we don't truly know the celebrity, when engaging with the medium of entertainment, it's critical that we have the opportunity to sink into the kayfabe that they present. When real life facts come out about the artist, it's less about discussing if the actions of the celebrity are moral and more about, does this support the value and image that they've already presented to us. The reason why public backlash is not consistent to the action is because the context of who's doing the action does make a difference. So, Editor Ahmed here, and I wanted to just give an example of two situations where two artists engaged in pretty similar acts but received very different public reactions for what they did because of their persona. And I've shuffled through a lot of different celebrity comparisons and a lot of different things that we could engage with, but I ended up landing on I ended up landing on Gunna versus 6ix9ine. I think because this example in a lot of ways perfectly exemplifies what I'm referring to. So if you don't know, both of them complied with authorities, did aid in law enforcement when it came to taking the entirety of their crews down. But we obviously had different perceptions of who we were going to take down and who we were going to, not have as much smoke for. And the reason for that is because while Gunna was allegedly, a part of the gang himself, at the end of the day, we never saw him as that. His appeal never lived or died on his street credibility in any capacity. Most of us don't even pay attention to Gunna lyrics if we're being honest. And we're pretty surprised that lyrics from anybody from Young Thug would be used in a criminal court case because most of us don't even know what they are to begin with. Contrast that with 6ix9ine, whose entire rap persona was built specifically around, I handle my street beefs in the street. And there was this very aggressive push towards, please believe me, I am a tough guy. Once that was shattered, and when we saw the way in which it was shattered, we can no longer buy any of the things that you're saying anymore. Again, contrast that with Gunna. No one viewed Gunna as a tough guy. We kind of, like most of us, viewed Gunna as a fashion or like just more flex type rapper to begin with, if we even cared about his lyrics at all, right? But again, this goes into how we perceive different artists, and do their actions outside of their music allow us to continue with the semi-kayfabe that we still engage with them for. Now, I do obviously want to dispel and explain that there are differences between the two events. Obviously, Gunna's quote-unquote snitching or complying with law enforcement wasn't really on the same scale as 6ix9ine. 6ix9ine snitched on all of his homies and became pretty much an informant because he felt like he got backstabbed. And from reports, it happened pretty quickly into the investigation, as opposed to Gunna, who was in a holding cell for what felt like a very long amount of time, and really only contributed in the sense that, a RICO charge requires there to be a gang to be identified, and he identified them as a gang. And so his contribution to the law enforcement effort against YSL was also a lot more meager in comparison. Another comparison that I actually disagree with is this idea that 6ix9ine was making shit music anyway, and so it really just was about the fact that one had hits and one didn't. Because when 6ix9ine came out, he was dropping tattletales, and that was bad. And then Gunna dropped Gift and a Curse, and that was good. And on top of the fact that if you go back, I'm pretty sure 6ix9ine broke records for how crazy his get out of jail songs were. The other problem with this theory of like, artists just have to drop good music is that people were pretty dead set on continuing to listen to Gunna before he dropped Gift and a Curse. The general sentiment of people was like, even if he snitched, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop listening to him. And like, I don't think that's a wrong, opinion to have or anything like that, but I think that it's telling. Versus 6ix9ine, he kind of knew that his career was sort of on a timer, and if he was going to burn twice as fast, he was going to have to burn twice as bright to do so. But now, if you look at his album sales, if you look at his visibility, if you look at any of that, really DJ Academics is the only person keeping any of his existence afloat at all. And so, yeah, that would be an example of, again, two people in the same situation, but with different outcomes, not based on political ideologies, because this is the same community, it's the same everything. I would even argue probably similar demographics, but because of our understanding of what they portray in their music, we have vastly different outcomes for their cultural reaction. The same formula explains why Kodak Black can literally plead guilty for rape with no repercussions, while Drake having ghostwriters diminished the public perception of his integrity. By the way, the argument that, Kodak's music was good at the time doesn't hold as much water when you realize that the two main times Drake got dissed were at a huge critical success and a huge mainstream success for him. Drake marketed himself as honest, as well as someone who committed himself to the art of the hip-hop craft, both of which were smashed by the allegations. On the other hand, Kodak couldn't go an interview without saying something misogynistic. To answer this question of why don't we care about rappers who admit to murder, but do care about Lizzo fat shaming, is that in celebrity culture, it's more important for you to stick to your own values rather than adhering to some non-specific objective morality, because we as fans value authenticity to a large extent. Overall, cancel culture is not the invisible hand of the left controlling the narrative of what thoughts are acceptable. It is fans and companies deciding that you have alienated them by abandoning the beliefs they drew entertainment from and comfort from. I hope you enjoyed this quick video essay. I really enjoyed writing it. With that being said, peace, y'all.